All right, you lot, it's time for game week 6 and my predictions as pundit for FanLeague, the fantastic app that asks you to choose. Can you predict the right winner out of 13 English Football League matches? Let's have a quick look back at last week. And my Svendetta, as I've liked to call it, continues. For the first time, one of the pundits was in the money prize positions. That means getting 10 or more correct out of 13. Sven only got 10 out of 13. Very impressive. And if my imaginary cap, if I had a cap on, I'd be doffing it to Mr. Sven. I was close though. Let's not forget how well James the football fan, he's just a Bull Street guy, trying to get by, trying to do well as a pundit. 9 out of 13. I'm very, very happy with that. Pleased with my picks. And I think what it shows is that I'm starting to get something together here. Okay? I've got little theories that are bouncing about. And what I'm going to do is going to continue with my theories of home advantage and gut feeling to pick this week's predictions and see if that continues my rise in terms of my average weekly score, which before this wasn't great, but now with the 9 out of 13, if I can get another good one, then I'm starting to capitalise and I'm going to rein in Mr. Sven-Goran Eriksson. Ian McIntosh is supposed to be some kind of, expert. 8 out of 13. Woeful effort from Mr. Ian McIntosh. Must do better. But we'll see what happens this week. And this week there are some huge, huge games. So let's get straight into it. Right, let's go through my bankers. First up, this is probably a bit of a controversial one, but I'm going to go for Leicester to have an away win at Huddersfield Town. Now, Huddersfield played okay against West Ham. Of course, it was their first defeat, but I'm going from the experienced position as a fan of a team that has got promoted and then has begun to struggle. And I think this could be where it begins for Huddersfield. A lot of newly promoted teams, often teams that have won the playoffs, teams that probably people weren't expecting to go up, have gone up, and that kind of buoyancy of going up, if that is the right word, has carried them through for a few weeks. However, once it starts getting a little bit darker, a little bit colder, it starts getting a little bit harder. And I think Leicester City, who've got a decent squad, the Riyad Mahrez move hasn't happened, they've kept hold of him. I think that could play a big part in this game. They look very good against Brighton. They've had other difficult fixtures so far, having to play Man United, Arsenal, and Chelsea so far. But I think this is a good Leicester City side. I think it's probably going to be too strong for Huddersfield. Huddersfield are going to look to press and play well, but on the counter-attack, I think Leicester could be very, very dangerous. Vardy's looking good, and I think this could be an away win. If you can ever have an away win banker, I'm going to go for this one. Feels like a risk, but I'm going for it anyway. Second banker is Liverpool to win at home against Burnley. This, on paper, looks like an obvious one. Obviously, it's going to be a lot harder because they will not have Sadio Mane, and we all know how that went for them last season. Again, the fixtures are difficult this week, and I can see some massive upsets, but surely Liverpool are too strong for a Burnley side who have great resilience. They've shown that in the difficult games that they've had so far. Their away games have been so tough. Spurs and Chelsea they've had to play so far. Chris Wood's got 2 out of 2, and so he'll be happy and he'll be looking to make it 3 out of 3 in this game away at Liverpool. But surely they've got way too much for Burnley in this game, and if you're looking for a banker, this has to be on your sheet. And for my final banker, I'm dipping into the Championship and Nottingham Forest versus Wolves. Nottingham Forest have got a tidy side there. They've had some decent wins away from home, but their defence, for me, is poor. It's suspect. And against a Wolves side who are probably playing the best football in the entire division and have got some of the best players in the division, in particular Jota, who scored for them in their last game against Millwall. He's on loan from Atletico Madrid. They've got some cracking little players in there, and they're playing with huge confidence. They're third in the Championship, I think, at the moment, looking strong. And again, I shouldn't be going for bankers for away teams, but Forest, I think, will, despite being a good side in terms of possession, will offer too many opportunities to Wolves. And I think this will be an away win for Wolverhampton Wanderers as they march on to promotion. I think they're going to be in the Premier League next season. On to my upsets, and I'm going to go for, I'm going to tweak the old upset idea here. Newcastle to make it 3 wins on the bounce against Stoke City. Alone, it doesn't look like an upset, but for Rafa Benitez to turn around the fortunes of that team in such a short space of time, in such a difficult period of time after the transfer window, would be a bit of an upset. So I'm going to go for a Newcastle home win. The upsets are really difficult to pick this week. So again, I'm going to go a bit more broad in terms of Cardiff City. I think they'll get another home win against Sheffield Wednesday, who are a good side in this division, a side that should be pushing for the playoffs. But Cardiff City, who no one really picked to be up there at this point in the season, have done incredibly well with Neil Warnock. He has made them look very strong at home, and even in the tough games that they're playing away from home, they're nicking the points like they did last week against Fulham. I think they'll continue that form for a little while yet. I don't know if they're going to be able to get in the playoffs. Certainly can't see them doing automatic promotion, but they are flying at the moment, and I think they'll get themselves another home victory against Sheffield Wednesday. My final upset is going to be Millwall versus Leeds. Leeds battered Burton Albion 5-0 at the weekend, but Burton Albion aren't that impressive a side. Millwall, on the other hand, it's slightly misleading. Their performances, from what I've heard, have been very, very impressive, but they've had some very difficult games. But at home in particular, playing good stuff, and I think this weekend, Millwall versus Leeds is inevitably going to be a tasty one off the pitch, but on the pitch, I think Millwall, with that little theory that I've got now of the home advantage offering 20% sway, I'm going to go for a home win for Millwall, which will be a bit of an upset after Leeds' fine victory last week. Let's have a quick look at my half hedges now. And look, I've looked at these fixtures again and again and again, and they are just so difficult to pick this week. And I'm sure a lot of you guys will be doing it on a Saturday, and you'll have to just go with your gut. So I'm going full gut on this one now. I'm going to quickly reel off 7 half hedges from my picks. So I've gone for a Chelsea home win, but Arsenal, you never know. Go on, I'll half hedge that one. An away draw for Arsenal. Manchester United, again, I can't see them not winning that one. But Everton, they'll be looking to finish this last set of difficult games that they've had to open up the season. So again, I'm going to sneak them a draw. I'm going to half hedge that one as well. Spurs, you can't rely on them at home, especially with the Wembley hoodoo that continues to reign over them. So Swansea to grit their teeth and get themselves a draw. I'm going to half hedge that one as well. West Brom, West Ham, toss a coin. Can West Ham get themselves going after a victory against Huddersfield? Tell you what, I'll give them a draw as well. I can't see them winning against West Brom despite the defeat that they suffered at Brighton last week. They'll be happy to be at home this week. So for me, that feels like a home win all day long. Huddersfield, they've got great enthusiasm, and so Leicester City can't be counted on. They can beat anyone, but they can lose to anyone as well. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to put in my home win theory with Huddersfield. My final 2, Brentford versus Reading. Again, that is such a tough game to call. Brentford have looked good in patches, but haven't been able to get the points, and the pressure is on them at the moment. I've gone for a draw in that one, but they need the victory. So I'll tell you what, I'll give Brentford a little half hedge there as well. And finally, looking at it, Sheffield Wednesday, the Championship is so difficult to predict. I think you're always smart if you're half hedging a lot of those games. So I'm going to go for Sheffield Wednesday to get a shock win away at Cardiff. So those are my half hedges. I've gone basically gut, and if I really haven't got a clue what I'm doing, then I'm drifting towards home victories or home draws. Because for me, last week that worked for me, but will it work this weekend? So those are my picks. I'm putting my theory of the home advantage and my gut down to the test. Will it pay dividends? We will find out this weekend and see if I can get ahead of Sven Goran Eriksson. If you want to hear more from me, you can follow me on Twitter at James Alcott, or you can listen to my podcast, and you can follow that podcast on Twitter at GT4ABL. It's called Great Touch for a Big Lad. Good luck if you've made some picks. Even better luck if you've chosen to follow my picks. I'll see you next week.